This episode contains discussions surrounding mental health. If at any point during the episode you or someone you know is in need of support, call 988 or visit iasp.info for help. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to yet another episode of the Make Mental podcast. As always, Caleb Munski here. And today we have another special guest, Malcolm Johnson Jr. Thank you for joining the Make Mental podcast.
Absolutely, man. First, I would like to say thank you for having me. I just appreciate what you're doing in this space, someone who's genuine about, growing their brand, but also teaching people about mental health and getting different people on here. I feel like that's pretty dope. And I applaud you for doing that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's always nice to start off the episode with a little compliment. So thank you. That'll go a long way. But we're here to talk about you as much as it is nice to hear compliments about me. We kind of got in touch through an interesting medium. Not that DMs on Instagram are like dark and scary anymore. It's not like unheard of, but it's one of the first times that I've got messaged by a company that just really connects with what we're doing here at Make Mental. Usually it's me going out doing the research, or our team doing the research to find companies and individuals that connect with us. But you kind of got in our inbox with your company, and we'll definitely give you the floor in a little while to talk about that. But start a conversation. It looks like something you've been planning on doing for a while. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about start a conversation, and then we can go from there?
Yep. Like Caleb just said, I'm Malcolm Johnson Jr. As you can see behind me, I'm from Maryland. I just recently transferred from Auburn University to Bowling Green State University, which was a big transition for me. I'm a current college football player slash student slash entrepreneur, and someone who's just looking to make a difference, in my community, in the world, and that's kind of how Start a Conversation came about. While I was at Auburn, I met a lot of great people, especially a mentor of mine now. His name is Ward Swift, and we were developing an idea of how exactly, I wanted to make my mark, and we came up with a Start a Conversation. It took many trials to figure out different things, and the plan we had at first did not work, so we had to figure out a different way. But I think this is going to be the way. I think that this is going to elevate, not only the world, but people around the world. And this is something that I'm passionate about. This is something that he's passionate about. And really, it just came from starting conversations with different people. Like it's amazing how if you just talk to different people, from different age groups, different races, how much you will actually get from that. And that's what I'm here to encourage people to do. Step outside of their comfort zone, step outside of, their circle, and really engage with people that are different from you. You'll be amazed at how similar you guys are. And I feel like that's what the world needs. So that's a little bit about Start a Conversation.
Yeah, I love that. Stepping outside your comfort zone a little bit. And that can look so many different ways for so many different people. For some people, it could simply be saying what your hoodie says and just hello to a stranger, or hello to someone in your class who you don't necessarily talk to, or a friend you haven't chatted with in a while. Or it could be starting an entire company like you've tried to do. I know you mentioned that at the beginning with your mentor, what was his name again?
Ward Swift.
Word
I
Swift,
call
with your
him Mr. S.
mentor. Sorry?
I call him Mr. S though.
All right, we'll call him Mr. S. Hello, Mr. S, if you're listening to this. Um, so you and Mr. S were. What was the original idea that maybe failed for you? I'm not saying it would fail for everyone, but what was that original idea and then how did you switch gears, kind of thing? Because obviously, it had to be difficult knowing that you wanted to do something so badly to then not have it go as planned.
The first idea, we were looking to actually take over a company that someone is currently running, but having a hard time getting off the ground. That didn't work. We were going back and forth with said person, just trying to figure out different ways that we can fit to their needs, and it just we were just on two different wavelengths as far as that. We decided, okay, we're going to do our own thing, and through a lot of trial and tribulation, and this was probably about a year and a half ago or something like that. So just constantly working, constantly thinking, constantly staying up late, just trying to figure out what exactly we're going to do. We came up with start a conversation.
Yeah, I like that, and I can't help but thinking that's got to be a full plate for you. That's got to be a heavy backpack. I mean, transferring schools, student athlete, starting a business, not being a perfect fit, like all that might be weighing on your mind. How do you practice like mental resilience and just the mental fortitude it takes to take on a handful of things at once?
I think that having a support system, is very vital to my success. Surrounding myself with people that see me in my best self, if that makes sense. So if I'm displaying actions that I don't normally display, the people that I'm around, they call me out and say, bro, like, this is not you. You said you wanted to do this, but yet you're not doing this. Like, why are you acting like this? Having people like that plays a big role in my life. Also, um, just constantly talking to myself positively. Um, I heard a great quote from Nipsey Hussle. I'm not sure if I'm saying it exactly right, but he pretty much said that every time you feel a certain type of way, you feel like it's a lot going on. You got to remember like what you asked for. And for me, I believe in Jesus, and I asked to be something very special, someone that is in top 1% of people. So I have to deal with things that aren't looked at as normal. And also, I don't really look at the bad, if that makes sense. I thrive off of the good. So yeah, that plan didn't work, but we got closer to what we wanted to do. Um,
Mm.
this didn't work. My test failed, but now I have a better grasp on what I need to do next time. Build those study habits. So it's pretty much learning off of what you call failure, which I don't believe failure exists unless you don't learn anything from it.
Yeah, fantastic point. My soccer coach in college used to say, "You win or you learn. You don't lose." On the
Exactly.
stat sheet, you might lose, but we all can't play sports forever. I was speaking to a guest the other day, and she mentioned that your body is not set up to play athletics forever, so you have to take care of your brain because your brain outlasts your body more than not. And I thought that was interesting, but I do like the quote too by Nipsey. I think for some reason it brought up champagne problems for me. Like that's kind of what I think of when I think of that, right? Like every step you go further into chasing your dream, it's going to come with another set of challenges. It's going to come with more failures, more lessons, more triumphs. But you're right, you do have to remind yourself this is what I've asked God for, if that's who you believe in, or this is what I've worked hard for. Um, there's everywhere you go there's problems. You're never going to escape them, right? It's just how you react to them. I'm curious for you, how long have you had start a conversation so far, since that year and a half transition, or
So we're planning on actually launching the time this video uploads, and that's going to be an exciting time for us. But it's just been in the works, gathering the right people, just because the time is so limited between my everyday task, gathering the right people, gathering the right ideas, figuring out different logistics as far as that. So it's been about a year, I would say a year and a half for the actual idea.
Go Global is a free flowing technology company that handcrafts, embellishes, and manufactures garments and accessories. Designed on the principles of people, places, and possibilities, Go Global reimagines fashion and is inspired by you, the people of the world. Okay, yeah, no, so I mean that's perfect then. We'll get you a little release party here. We'll put if you got a website or a social media, we'll obviously put it in the show notes, direct people to your page. And you kind of answered the question I was going to ask, but I guess in the lead up to the launch date, what has been like the biggest challenge for you personally, and then for the company as a whole?
I would say the biggest challenge for me personally is just being persistent. You know, waking up every day and still uh, chasing that vision. You know, sometimes it can feel far fetched. Sometimes it could be like you kind of have doubt, like, dang, is this really going to work? Like, and then I have to combat that kind of in my own head and say, no, it will work, and that I'm going to give it everything I have each and every day to help build this brand. And I think just finding those right people is very critical. Like the team that we have is outstanding. Like I can't explain to you how much they've helped me, and we've helped each other. So I think that relying on each other is very critical, to the success of any team, really.
Yeah, 100%. Do you think that your athletic nature, like your athletic background, I'm assuming you played sports for most of your life. Do you think that plays a role? Because as athletes, we have like a built-in, like it's almost like clockwork in our brain. We know how to work with teammates. We know how to work with other people. What are like the parallels you can take from your football experience over to the business world now? Because I always think that's an interesting conversation.
I think football definitely has prepared me. I know a lot of people say it and it's cliche. Football prepares you for life, but I truly feel that way, because playing football, you know, you learn to work with different people. Some people don't take certain coaching uh, well, so you have to kind of combat that with meeting people where they are, and knowing yourself well enough to adapt to them. And I think that's what great leaders do. They adapt to the people around them. So I think for sure teamwork. I also think that determination, like that everyday grind, like the everyday process of waking up, doing the same thing over, practice, weights, stretch, recovery, things like that. You have to have discipline to do those things.
Yeah, I totally agree that the consistency, right, is something that we preach over here at Make Mental a lot. If you're going to focus on what we talk about, our mental health, again, it could be applied to all aspects of life. We just choose to narrow it down to mental health because it's had such a vital role in a lot of the lives here on the team members at Make Mental. But consistency is something that it's like a intangible. It's one of those soft skills where once you learn it in athletics, it can transfer into everything. And obviously, for the last year and a half, start a conversation for you. But I kind of want to rewind here a little bit. I want to know who Malcolm was as a kid. What it was like growing up in your house. Was mental health something you ever talked about? And then why football?
So growing up, I have two sisters. They're both way older than me, so I was the baby. So you can kind of guess what that means. You know, I guess you can say I'm the privileged person, or
Oh,
the
I feel that. I understand that.
yeah. So you can say that I get away with anything. I don't agree with that, at least not all the way. But I would say, you know, I pretty much did a lot of sports. My parents, they knew to keep me into sports, keep me active, because if I wasn't active, then I would just do a lot of things that, you know, wouldn't be uh, right. So as a kid, you know, you have to fill your time with something, and my time was filled with sports. I actually did not like football when I first played. When I was, I believe, 6, my dad, uh, I was doing karate, and then my dad said we're going to play football, so I'm going to play football, and I was getting hit, and I was like, why do people like this? Like, I remember I used to just like cry like every day and be like, yo, like, what am I doing? And then when I got a little bit older, I was like, Dad, I'm trying to quit. Like, I'm done playing this game. He was like, well, when you get old enough, I forgot the age. I think it was like 16. Then you can make the decision. And when I got that age, it was weird because I was like, I'm starting to love this game. Like, I'm actually starting to dedicate my life to this game. I'm starting to enjoy it. And around that time, I was also doing track as well. High school and in high school, I was doing track and football, and those were kind of my two main sports. Speed is something that I feel like is a great asset for me. So I did those things, and excelled in track and football, and almost got recruited by everybody in the country. And it was an amazing feeling to know that, I grinded every day, like focusing on my goals to be able to go to school for free, and pretty much anywhere in the country. And that's a beautiful feeling, to know that you can do that. And then college, went to Auburn, uh, played a little bit my freshman year. Oh, I failed to mention that I graduated in 2021, but I went to college in 2020. So I was a dual enrollee, in college. So I was freshman in college while taking senior classes, which is weird, online because it was COVID. And I did because, it essentially allowed me to gain an extra year of eligibility, which I'm using at this moment, for my fifth year. But it was a wonderful time to be able to do that, and to have those experiences. Um, and football, it was up and down. It was a lot of injuries and things like that, which caused me not to be available as much I would like to be. So I decided to leave, due to just the coaching staff changes. It was so many coaching staff changes, and I was kind of getting pushed away because I was an older guy. So I decided to, eventually leave and come to Bowling Green State.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack there, and I want to start kind of towards the beginning when you were mentioning that you played two sports growing up, track and football. I think that's an interesting dynamic in itself, and I'm gonna bear with me. I'm gonna relate it back to mental health here. I think playing one sport reminded you how much you loved the other sport. Not that you probably didn't hate track. Like, it has its purpose to make you faster for football. Like, I played tennis to do my side to side movements for soccer. Like, it helps. But in terms of mental health, like, you can almost do that with your recovery or with your preventative therapy if that's what you're choosing to do. You can try multiple things in life. You could try two sports, you can try different forms of meditation. There's so much out there for your mental health. Are you glad? Why this I guess this is like a lot of questions in one. How do I want to narrow this down? I guess I'll just start by saying, are you glad that your parents or your dad kept you in football even when you kind of pushed back?
For sure. And football wasn't even the only sport. I was doing like baseball. I was doing indoor and outdoor track. Like, every season was covered. Basketball. Like, I was doing literally everything that you could possibly do. And yes, I am glad that he did put me in sports because I feel like it taught me a lot about the world. It also built things inside of me that I feel like very few people have if they didn't play sports. Not trying to bag on the people that never play sports, but I feel like it's very hard to do something every day and still try to find a way to enjoy it. Eventually, it gets mundane, and you're like, man, like, I don't feel like doing this. Why am I doing this? and that's just human nature. But the ability to still go through it and still wake up, I feel like that is a superpower that very few people have.
Empire Specialty Printing is a family owned and operated screen printing and promotional products company. ESP has been in business for over a decade by providing consistent and high quality service. Products include custom hoodies, shirts, hats, business supplies, and much, much more. Whether it's for a family party, school team, group, or corporate apparel, Empire Specialty Printing has what you need to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, what got you through those like slow times of football when you obviously, I mean, we've all gone through it as athletes. You just don't want to go to practice. You may be on a losing streak. Your team might be winning, but you might not be the reason why. Like, how did you power through those very difficult times of football? And obviously, those injuries that you mentioned earlier.
I think it goes back to what I said earlier, just having the support system. I lean heavily on my support system, my friends around me, my mom, my dad, just everybody around me. They want to see me win. And I think that I'm very fortunate to have that support system. And I feel like very few people don't have that. So if you don't, I would encourage you to seek it out because that's something that is so powerful. Because eventually you're going to need somebody to talk to. You're going to need somebody to vent to. You're going to need somebody to boost your confidence and say, you got this, like I've seen you at your best, and you're going to get through this. Also, just knowing my vision and what I wanted to get out of life, where I wanted to go, constantly looking over, you know, my goals and what I wrote down, constantly dreaming about myself when I get there, constantly meditating on how I'm going to feel when I get there. You almost have to put yourself in your future self shoes at your current state.
Hmm. Can you talk on that a little bit? That's an interesting concept.
So, pretty much whenever I feel like I'm not holding up to what I want to do in the future, I may go do something to what I know I'm going to do in the future. For example, if I feel like, okay, I'm not being the best leader right now, I will go seek out to do some leadership things with, people around me, children around me, just so I can instill that in my brain. Or if I feel like I'm not at the level I'm supposed to be with football, I may go uh, work out and dream about this is Sunday, this is a game day. I'm visualizing all this, what the stadium looks like. I'm visualizing what it feels like. I'm just out there just visualizing everything and feeling I'm I'm kind of putting myself in my future body. And I
Yeah.
don't know if it makes sense to you, but it's a very visual thing that I like to do with my mind. Just see everything that I would see or that I want to see in the future.
Oh, it makes complete sense to me. I think it's something that a lot of athletes practice, which I think is good. I just don't hear a lot of athletes practicing it outside their sport. So that's what was interesting to me is you're you're practicing what you're preaching with start a conversation. You know that you're meant to be a leader, and some days you're fantastic at it, and some days it's just as we all are, we're just not. That you put yourself in an uncomfortable situation. Not uncomfortable where it's like you don't want to be there, you can't stand and be there, but like on the day, like you said, that you failed to be a good leader. All right, tomorrow I'm waking up and I'm forcing myself to learn how to be a good leader again because you know you're capable of it. You just have to do it again to remind yourself. And that brings me back to the 1% better quote that we use all the time. If you're getting 1% better at one thing in your life every day, there is no way that your day was a total failure. Even if you got 1% worse at something else, you're still getting 1% better at something that you set your mind out to do. Um, does that resonate with you at all, of the 1% better approach, or are you more of a see the end goal and just get there at all costs kind of guy?
Man, I feel like you have to see the 1% because it's eventually gonna be to a point where you're like, man, like I'm not getting any progress. But Every day I wake up, I actually say, just get 1% better, Malcolm. Like, you just got to get 1%. You don't have to get two. You don't have to get three. Just get better at one thing. And then eventually what you'll start to realize is you kind of enjoy getting better at things. And then you consciously seek out things that get you better. And I feel like once you are comfortable with being uncomfortable and doing those things, then I feel like you truly uh, are getting 1% better without even knowing that you're getting 1% better. And then it becomes a compound effect.
Yeah, and I think when you combine the 1% better kind of little mini quote with the you have to lose control to gain control quote, I think those kind of are a cool mix, and that's something that I've been experiencing a lot lately. I'm curious to know if you've been experiencing it, but when I do try to get 1% better, sometimes that the 1% that I want to get better at is out of my control. And I have to sit back and realize, like, just because as an athlete I've been able to go to class, eat, go to class, go to workout, go to practice, like those are all within my control. I could choose not to go to those things. But if I do, I can choose to get better in those things now. And I'll just do air quotes for those people listening. In the real world, there are some things that I need to get good at that are just completely outside of my control. Like I need to let letting go of control is something that I need to get better at, and that is completely out of my control. Not the fact that letting go is not out of my control, like giving delegating tasks, but the fact that those tasks might not be done how I would have done them. Is that something that sits with you at all? Are you someone who likes to have like authority over everything, or are you just kind of like, hey, like this is my vision, these are my people with me, I trust them even if it's not to my standards yet?
Bro, that is a great point right there. And that's actually something that uh, I've been going over a lot in my head, because ultimately, that's kind of there's like a trade off from doing that. Of course, you're going to delegate things, but then they might not be done to what you like. But it's your job to build the people's confidence. It's your job to help them get to maximizing their potential, because ultimately you are the person that uh, chose those people to be on your staff slash team. So for that reason, you have to believe in your abilities and what you've seen. And the art of letting go is something that is very hard for me, and something that I've been working on constantly, because I sometimes I feel like I have to, okay, I got to do this, and if this don't work, then I got to figure this out. And it's like, bro, like that's not how life works. If it's gonna be, then it's gonna be. You have to put your best foot forward, and if you do that every day, then it's gonna work out how it's supposed to work out. And you can't control that as much as you want to, but you have a higher percent chance of uh, making things work out the way you want them to work out if you put your best foot forward each day.
Yeah, I couldn't help but think of like sometimes when I think of letting go, it equates to like laziness in my brain. Like if I'm not doing it, then like, oh, you're just lazy. But then the reverse can happen, right? If you let go of too much, you can slip into lazy patterns. Like it's a very, very thin line to walk on. How do you balance the in between there of not being lazy, but then also taking too much on and just getting straight up burnt out?
I think you got to be conscious of who you are and what type of person you are. Like I know that if I sit around for too long, then I'm not gonna be able to feel good about myself. Even if that means just cleaning up around my house, or if that's taking out the trash or doing something. But I know that if I sit down for too long, I'm gonna feel like I'm not doing enough. Someone else, they may be able to sit down and watch a TV show for the whole day, and be okay with that. But for me, I know that I can't do that, and that it's not going to give me the best outlook on my day's life. And other people are different. Some people can literally watch TV all day and be okay with it. But I think you just have to know yourself and be in tune with yourself um, to be able to differentiate those things.
Yeah, how did you learn yourself? I'm not going to sit here and ask you to tell people how they should find out who they are, but I'm just curious, how did you, or how are you starting to understand, because it's an ongoing process. How are you starting to understand who Malcolm Johnson Jr. is?
I think just spending time with yourself. Oftentimes I know this sounds weird, but I take myself out on dates and
Hmm.
I talk to myself and I sit down and enjoy whatever I'm looking at without my phone, without any technology. Or I may watch a movie and think about, what did I like about the movie, and just talking to yourself, you kind of figure out patterns. Like, okay, like this is what I like, this is what I don't like, and I think that's what people. Um, a lot of times we get caught up in the everyday life. We're looking at other people like, what kind of person should I be? What kind of person do I want to be? Like, you got to figure out what you're supposed to be. And I think it's all internal. So if you just take, I don't know whether that be 30 minutes or even 10 minutes a day and just sit by yourself without anything around, without talking to anybody, quiet yourself down, maybe look outside at the trees or go to a park and just sit and think, you're going to find out all the answers that you want to know.
Need a tow? Top Shot Transport is the place to go. From cars to machinery, heavy equipment to general freight, Top Shot Transport will give you the best rate. Top Shot Transport is fully licensed and ready to tow your stuff anywhere. Email topshottransport1@gmail.com for more information.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think just off the top of my mind, some places, if people are struggling, like I don't have any time during the day to do this. I mean, we've all felt like that, right? There are some days where it's nearly impossible to find 2 minutes for yourself, but there is 2 minutes, right? When you first wake up in the morning to turn off your alarm clock, you might feel attacked, but I'm willing to think, like, not you specifically, Malcolm, but people listening, you probably don't just turn off your alarm clock. We all are guilty of turning off our alarm clock, clicking on our email, seeing if we got a random text at 4 in the morning, like we're that important, going on Instagram, like all that, right? Like I'm guilty of it. Like when I post on a Monday episode or a Sunday night sometimes, I wake up the next day, I'm like, oh, how many people have listened? How many people have done this? How many people have done that? And it's always how many others. It's never how I feel in the moment. So right in the morning, just turn off your alarm clock, go get your cup of coffee, your tea, your orange juice, whatever you get in the morning. Mango juice. I think Wes, if you're listening, one of my buddies, Wes, is on like some mango juice craze right now. I'm gonna be ripped apart if that's not the truth, but there's that moment right in the morning, right? When you first wake up, just if you're religious, like I am, thank God for another day when your 2 feet hit the ground. Ask Him to help you use it to the best of your ability. And sometimes the best of your ability is failing, but there's a plan for it. In
And
the
I think
shower,
Yeah,
right?
I was
In
about
the
to say
shower
it.
is another time. Some of my friends have brought their phones in the shower, and I'm like, um, okay, you can if you want, but like I just turn on some light background music and just take a shower, and I finish with like a minute of cold water. It's something I've been doing this year. It's fantastic. At lunch, right? Just sit there and eat your sandwich, eat your salad. Don't just try so hard not to go on your phone, or say, okay, for the first half of lunch, I'm going to get all my phone out of the way. Second half of lunch, or once I finish my sandwich, let's just exist. Let's just look around. Let's just think, get up, go for a walk. Those are three easy times right there before even nighttime. Sometimes some people shower in the morning, that you can take that time for yourself.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that you can find time. I think you just have to be really diligent about your time, and you have to value your time, because there's plenty of times when you get in the car, don't turn on no music. Just be quiet and ride to work or whatever you're doing. And there's just so many little moments that you can be to yourself and not pick up your phone. I think that's the most essential thing, just not being held by this phone. Like, you control the phone. The phone don't allow the phone to control you. And I think if you really want to be honest and see if you have time, then look at your phone usage. That should tell you everything you know about how much time do you really have. There's 24 hours in a day, and most people spend however many hours on their phone, not doing anything.
Yeah, I was guilty. I was definitely guilty of that up until probably a year ago, half a year ago, when my girlfriend just called me out on it. She's like, "My screen time's lower than yours," and I was like, "All right, here we go. I bet it's not." And then mine was higher by like 3 hours, and I was like, "What am I doing? Like, I don't even
Yeah.
feel like I'm on it for that long, right?" So simple tricks for that, because that's just how my brain works. Just turn off your notifications for your social media. I'm not saying your methods of communication. Leave your phone ringer on if you do. Like, leave your text messages, leave your Snapchat, but turn off your Facebooks, your Instagrams, turn off your Fox Sports, your ESPNs, like, unless it's like a special time of year, like the Super Bowl or the Olympics. Obviously, we want to see that. But I went from picking my phone up, no joke, 200 to 300 times a day for social media, down to 87 today, because I actually do practice that. And I looked before this, oddly enough, 87 times. That's a third difference that I got to spend time with myself. I wasn't distracted at my job. Like, your life just becomes more freeing when you're not just quite literally plugged in all the time. What I'm assuming that's something you've practiced, is not being as plugged in. What do you now fill your time with? What's the joy of the other side of not just staring at your screen?
Bro, like once you realize that you spend so much time on your phone, like it's actually ridiculous how much free time you actually have. Like there's actually nothing I can't get done within a day due to me not being on my phone all the time. I actually spend my time, focus on my everyday task, and eventually, you figure out that okay, I have some extra time, so you can free yourself up by whatever you like to do. Watch TV, watch movies, get on Instagram for a little bit. But I think just getting those tasks out the way is very essential, especially programming yourself to know that I'm going to get my tasks done, and then I'm going to allow myself to have some free time. So what I fill my task with, just thinking. Like I literally think all day, think about my future. I engulf myself with my future self. Studying on what I want to do, studying about business, learning about how to be a better leader, learning about my craft, football, studying people's routes, studying my playbook. Uh, cleaning up, just doing stuff like that, but really just studying for where I see myself in my future. I think that's the main thing I focus on that has given me more time to actually engulf myself in that.
Yeah, and it is so difficult, right? When we're so used to these habits and these patterns and just a way of life, really, with technology now. And it's not all bad. I'm not just going to sit here and shit on it. Like, it's not all bad. Social media put us together, right? If I didn't pick up my phone when your message came up, we would never be sharing this conversation. But one way to try and reverse those negative habits, if you will, the overusage of technology, the underusage of your own brain capacity. I always think back to James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, one of one of the books that just has helped shape my life. And he talks about the 2 minute rule in one of his chapters. And the rule is, if it takes less than 2 minutes, do it now. And you might be thinking, like, well, not much in my life takes less than 2 minutes. Like, there's really not a ton that falls under that category. So what he encourages you to do is take those larger tasks that are probably, like, go to the gym. We'll use that for an example. Go to the gym is obviously longer than a 2 minute task for most people, unless you're just having that kind of day. You just want to get in and get out. But um, he says instead of go to the gym and your brain say, fill up my water bottle and put on my gym shoes, you're already halfway there. The next thing you got to do is walk to the gym, get in your car, drive to the gym, and stay at the gym. Okay, once you're there, if 10 minutes seems like too long of a time, go for a 5 minute walk, go home. Next time, go for a 5 minute walk, go home. Go for a 7 minute walk. And before you know it, that the beginning of your ritual doesn't even feel like it's a pain anymore. You're like, oh, time to go to the gym. Let me get my shoes, my water bottle. And now you're like, well, I'm already here. I'm going to stay longer. So you got to trick yourself in a good way, not like a mean prank, even though I think at this time April Fool's has just passed. Not like a joke like that, but a serious, sincere like retraining of your brain. And as
Exactly.
athletes, and again, I say it all the time, as athletes, we train our bodies to the limit, sometimes to the breaking point. I'm not saying we do that with our brain by any means. I'm just saying, why don't we at least try to strengthen our brain outside the classroom? Because most of us, we dream about doing something that only 1% of the population gets to do, or 2% and play professional sports, and then even less for a sustainable amount of years. Your brain is with you from start to finish, man. Like that, you need it. So that's all I'm encouraging people to do. Obviously, there's plenty of resources out there if you are struggling a ton. 988 is always the one that we encourage people to go to. And then there is a helpline online. But um, do you have any advice besides maybe the 2 minute rule on how to kind of trick your brain into starting some of these tasks that seem nearly impossible at the start?
I think you hit it on the nail. Just starting slow. You know, you don't have to eat the whole elephant. Just eat it bit by bit. Like you said with the phone thing, even if it's too much to turn off your notifications, just turn your phone off. Literally, turn your phone off just for 5 minutes, and I promise you, once a day, I promise you, it will change your life. And then once you go from there, just keep it increasing as you are allowed to. Eventually, you're gonna have to pick up your phone because um, just to do things, everyday tasks. You got to text people, you got to call people. But I think just allowing yourself to have that time is critical. And for me, that's pretty much it. Just doing the little things day by day and being in tune with yourself, because everybody's method may not always fit yours. That's why I said I encourage people to understand themselves, because I can tell you a method that works for me, but it may not work for you. So my hope is that you're in tune with yourself to know what method best works for you.
I love that. And I think that's also kind of maybe inadvertently what start a conversation is about for some people, right? Like you don't know what you like or what you dislike unless you chat to someone, right? Like I could be sitting here having a conversation with you. I know I thoroughly enjoy it. Not saying you are. On the other end, you could be like, man, this Caleb dude, like I'm never calling him back. Well, but that's the beauty in it. And if you don't, like that's you figure out your likes and your dislikes by just trying, right? Like if like you mentioned, if turning off your notifications is too much, turn off your phone. And either way, it's going to be ridiculously uncomfortable. I just think back to when Facebook and Meta and Instagram shut down for like 24 hours or like maybe not even like 24 minutes. Everyone was freaking out on Twitter. And that put something in my mind of just like how many people noticed those were down in 24 minutes? Like, could you challenge yourself not to pick up your phone for a couple hours when those services were down anyway? That's the challenge I presented to myself. And one time I failed, one time I was good at it. And that's okay. There's something to be said about giving yourself grace and giving others grace. Is that something you practice in your daily life? Is forgiveness, but not to a fault?
Yes, bro. That's something that God has really helped me with. Um, you know, being being gentle on myself. Although I'm my biggest critic, I also must realize that I am human, and inevitably, I will do some things that are wrong, and I'm not just this perfect human being. Of course, the goal is to be perfect, and to strive for your best. But inevitably, you're gonna fall short, and you need to know that, because if you don't, it's kind of going to make your life uh, simply very hard. So that's something that I had to learn, giving myself grace. I will give other people grace, but then I look at myself and I'm like, yo, like you're not giving yourself grace. Like it's okay. And I feel like something that I've practiced with giving myself grace is literally like talking and saying, walking myself through what happened. So, for example, I may say, let's just use I failed the test. I failed this test. Dang, I failed the test. Okay. I failed. Why did I fail? Okay, I may have been on the video game a little too long. Okay, boom. I failed. It's not the end of the world. I still have another test. I can always email the teacher and say, I'm sorry, I apologize. I did not take this test to my full abilities. Am I allowed to retake this? Or is there any other way I can, boost my grade? But knowing that it's never final, like it's okay. Like tomorrow you're still gonna, wake up and it's gonna be another day. So for me to know that, it's like, okay, like, all right, it's not the end of the world. I can figure out a way to overcome this. Every battle is meant for you to overcome. So knowing that the end really helps me because it's like, okay, I know I can overcome this.
College can be a roller coaster, but Zant's got your back. First session? Absolutely free. After that, just $25. Easy on the pocket, heavy on support. Stress, burnout, addiction, or trauma. Zant's expert coaches are here for you. Download the app, kick stress to the curb, and own your college journey. Your mental health, your way. Zant. Download and thrive today.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that a lot. I mean, for a lot of the kids in college, that which is a lot of our listeners, that is a main one is the grades, especially for athletes. Because if we're not on scholarship, we have to. I mean, even if you are, I'm sure you have to keep them a certain level to play. But um, that I know that's a big struggle for a lot of people, and it's crazy because a guest we had on like way back, maybe our fourth ever guest, Anastasios Diakovasilis. I'm very proud of myself. I think that might be
Hey,
the second time I've ever gotten that right. I love the kid. He's one of my closest friends in college. We just don't talk as much because we're not around each other. But he went through a fantastic senior year of high school, a very rough, very difficult freshman year of college, and now he's in, I think, physical therapy school, and he's doing really well. But he took that approach. He said he actually introduced me to James Clear's Atomic Habits, and I asked him, I was like, "What did you do? What was the switch? And was it something physical? Was it something mental?" And he said it was mental. And he said that what he started to do is remind himself, like, I'm gonna fail. Beating myself up over my failures is only going to lead to more failures because that's all I'm thinking about. Kind of like your visualization approach. If you're visualizing success, you're ultimately going to have more wins if the effort is put in. You can't just sit here and just go like, "Oh my god, oh my success," right? Like maybe you get lucky. But if you combine the visualization with the active effort and the active practice to get there, it doesn't matter if you hit your end goal, you're already more successful than you were going to be before, if that's what you're chasing. Now, me personally, I stopped going after success and things of that nature, and I just started calling my success happiness. I started just chasing joy and just positivity. And that to me has done tremendous amounts, even in terms of success, if that was still a metric I use. My metric for success is purely just was I happy today? And much like you, did I pass the test? I go back and I go, okay, I was happy for a third of the day. What was I doing during that third of the day that brought me that joy? Can I emulate that more tomorrow? Is there still time today to get that feeling back before I fall asleep? Because I'm a huge believer of if you go to bed happy, you'll wake up happy, and that just sets the mood for your day. So I want to open the floor to you, however, though, to bring up some important things near and dear to your heart. Is there anything that you want the Make Mental community to know about you, what you got going on, some things you support, some things you love, or just some messages from you in general?
I would say, start a conversation is surrounded around this whole idea that, social media. It's almost that we look up to social media, that we idolize this meta universe, and I just want people to know that there are real connections out there, real people. I'm not discrediting meeting people on social media. I met you through social media, but I want you to know that there are real connections, and I want you to just take just a little bit of time to get off your phone, engage in the world. I promise you, you won't regret it. There's not been one time I regretted just going out in nature or talking to people or anything like that. Of course, there are going to be bad people, but even then, I find it quite funny if their approach is a little angry towards me because of the positivity that I have, and eventually you're going to run into somebody who's just as positive as you, and then you can build a friendship just like that, just from meeting someone. You never know what you can do just by saying hello, and that's what starting conversation is about. Starting conversations with people that are different from you, people that believe in different ideas, different religions, different uh, views on race, anything. Just being able to have a conversation with people is a skill that has gotten me far. I'm not as smart as people may think I am. I just enjoy talking to people. Uh, I enjoy talking to people, and you never know what that person is going through. If you just say one positive thing, people have said to me countless times, like just the inspiration I've given people, um, just from one call, just saying, I was thinking about you today. I hope you have a great day today. Something like that goes a long way with anybody, and that's what start a conversation is. Just starting conversations. We believe that there's a lot of not to shine light on the hate, but there's a lot of miscommunication between people, especially in politics. There's this side bickering on the other side, this side saying what they don't like about this side. Like, bro, like it's about people. It's about human interaction. It's about getting what we need to be successful in each other's lives. We're supposed to be there for people. Whether you call me and you say you're having a bad day, if I have time to talk and I'm not, it's not hurting my mental health, then why not do it? Why not reach
Hmm.
out to somebody and tell them, I appreciate you for what you've done. Like, why not? It doesn't make sense not to spread that, and that's what we're all about, spreading love, spreading connection, and it's that simple.
Yeah, that's truly wonderful. It's open-minded, honest, genuine conversation goes such a long way, whether a conclusion is reached or not. To your point of not trying to shed too much light on the hate, but if you're not engaging in open-minded, I'll highlight that again, conversation, you're never going to learn a new part of life. You're never going to learn if an old way of life was in fact more detrimental to your self-worth and your being, right? Or if you engage in the conversation, it might reinforce that where you are is the right path. It all goes back to putting yourself in the best place possible to reach whatever you define as success. And I think Start a Conversation encourages that to the moon. So I commend you for that. And I commend your team for working for a year and a half behind the scenes, combating the learning experiences, we'll call them, not failures. Your mentor, Mr. S, obviously plays a massive role in this, so it's always good to have that on your team as well. But I want to kind of transition into the last little segment we like to do here at the Make Mental podcast, if you're all right with that, Malcolm, and ask
Yeah,
you the final question of the episode.
absolutely.
All right, so Malcolm, I'm going to start off the same way I always do. If you have made it this far in the episode, you're fantastic. Thank you so much. Your attention span is longer than probably 99.999% of people on planet Earth right now. The
Shout
most
out,
important
y'all.
question sorry?
I said, shout out everybody that's watching right now and made it this far.
Oh, yeah. Let them know. Let them know in the comments below. If you've made it this far, I want you just type the word hello in the comments. Simply what's on his hoodie. If you've made it this far, I'm curious. I'm curious to see who's a real one. Got this far. No, I'm kidding. But we're going to ask the most important question. So buckle up, Malcolm. If there is one person in the entire world, and I'm going to make it difficult for you because you seem like you can handle it. We're going to take out mom. We're going to take out dad. We're going to take out Mr. S. All right. If there's one person besides those three in the entire world that were to get this far in the episode and they say, I need some love right now, who would you be giving a hug to show them that you love them?
Anybody who asked.
Can you go off that a little bit? That's a first.
I think that love doesn't deserve to be withheld. I think whoever asks for it truly needs it. So I think that whoever needs it, that's what I'm here to do. That's who I cater to, the people that need it. So anybody that needs it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. If you were listening to that and being like, please save me, Malcolm. Well, there you go. He's spreading his love out. Maybe a one giant group hug, as we had one of the guests do. So a group hug to anyone who is needing a hug. I'm sure whether he knows you or not, that just seems like the type of person Malcolm is. But if you want to check out Start a Conversation, I think it's just Start a Convo on Instagram. Can you let us know where to find you?
Yep. Start a Conversation. The Instagram name is _Start a Convo on Instagram. We also have a website, and it's startaconvo.com.
Perfect. And we'll be sure to throw Malcolm's Start a Convo and in the website all in the show notes so you can find out all the good work that he is doing over there. But that will do it for this episode of the Make Mental Podcast. Malcolm, thank you for being a light in this world. Thank you for sharing how you kind of navigate who you are as a person, how you figure out who you are as a person, and then not stopping there, how you turn it into a physical entity so that others can do it themselves. I think that says a lot about who you are and what you've got going on. So we really appreciate you here at the Make Mental Podcast. I know our community has nothing but love for you, and we are so excited to see where the rest of life takes you.
I appreciate that. Thank you for having me on.